Morning and welcome to the daily cyber briefing for it's Patch Tuesday, so that will take up most of your time today, I suspect. So Microsoft has released 63 patches, which sweeps up 6 that were released earlier this month into the usual Patch Tuesday round. Not a great deal that is particularly concerning. Highest severity vulnerability that's been patched this time is CVE 2025 21198, which has got a CVSS score of 9.0. It affects high performance computing infrastructure, so and allows remote code execution. The attacker would need access to the network connected to the machines that are being targeted, but once exploited, the flaw could extend to other clusters and nodes within the same network. So that one is potentially serious for some specific situations. Probably not directly relevant to everybody by quite a long way. So yeah, the rest of it's the usual stuff. It's a medium and high severities. Nothing that really deserves calling out. I would say, as always, patch and be damned. Pretty much. Well, at least do stand-up testing and get on with it. This lots don't look like a particularly scary set of patches or vulnerabilities that are being addressed, so worth pushing forward with, though. In the meantime, Adobe has patched 31 vulnerabilities in the Adobe Commerce platform, fixing things like cross-site scripting bugs, security feature bypasses, code execution flaws, and so on. There are various other vulnerabilities in other platforms. SAP has pushed out 21 patches. Does anybody still use SAP? I guess some people do. I haven't come across it in a customer environment for a very long time. Fortinet has also pushed out vulnerabilities. No, they did that already. Pushed out patches to multiple vulnerabilities in multiple products. The most severe of those being a critical authentication bypass vulnerability in FortiOS and FortiProxy. That one has a CVSS score of 9.6, and it looks like if you have not already been on top of patching Fortinet devices over the last few months, weeks, straight months, then there is a very high possibility that one of the many vulnerabilities that have been addressed will have led to a compromise of your Forti devices. So definitely worth having a look at that one if you're running Fortinet devices. So yeah, it's a patching day. Now, there is one thing that I think is worth bringing to your attention in the vulnerability and patch arena, and that is that there is a critical vulnerability in OpenSSL that allows attackers to launch a man-in-the-middle attack. Now, OpenSSL is the subsystem that is used in many applications, situations to do with clearly SSL TLS communications. It is kind of de facto the default encryption subsystem. So it is found in all sorts of things, commercial things as well as other open source solutions. The vulnerability now it is known Um, does mean that one would expect to see an increase in the number of attempted exploits. It is to do with effectively to do with flawed server authentication. It's tracked as, let me get this right, tracked as CVE 2024 12797. And it is related to using RPK for authenticating a server. So if you are using OpenSSL 3.4, you need to be upgrading to SSL 3.4.1. If you're using SSL 3.3, you need to be aiming to be on OpenSSL 3.3.2, or if you're on 3.2, you need to be aiming to be patching to 3.2.4. The initial report was published in December last year, so patches have been available for a little while, but it is something that if you are directly using OpenSSL, hopefully by now you will have picked up patches for this vulnerability in your regular patching rounds. However, it is worth doing a little research. Sorry, I wasn't very articulate. It is worth doing a little research into whether any of your commercial packages that use SSL or TLS are using OpenSSL under the hood, just to be certain that you are receiving patches from those as well. So potentially serious, given the ubiquitous nature of TLS encryption over the internet. And then finally from me today, in the category of, it's one to think about. The UK and the US have refused to sign an international AI declaration. The declaration, which has been endorsed by multiple companies, no, sadly not, multiple countries, including France, China, and India, has not been signed by the UK or the US. In the UK government issued a brief statement expressing concerns over national security and global governance. In the US, the Vice President Vance has expressed the US's concern that excessive regulation of AI could kill a transformative industry just as it's taking off. So, two different approaches to the issue as to whether this particular legislation, or this regulation is the right way forward or not. However, resulting in the same thing. It is an area to keep an eye on, and it does fit into this very current area of thought around whether international regulation and international law is in any way superior to national law. I don't know. My particular view on international law is it's made up by lawyers for the sake of lawyers having things to do, and that law needs to be written by the process needs to involve elected representatives of the people, and not be made up by, and the rules shouldn't be being made up by unelected bureaucrats in any national or international or whatever. Personal view doesn't represent the views of, it doesn't necessarily represent the views of the company, blah, 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 usual stuff. Um, is this going to make matters more complicated? Well, from a legal and regulatory perspective, yes, it will. From a security perspective, well, it at least allows the UK to be making its own decisions around what's going to happen in this space, which I think is a good thing. Well, it would be. Well, it gives us the potential for it to be a good thing. From the US perspective, it does allow them to continue to develop and commercialize AI at a rate which is probably not in line with a very regulatory and bureaucratic view that especially the European Union has on the way stuff should be done. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on if you are at all interested in AI in your own organizations, or in fact the potential impact of AI on your company or national security or pretty much anything else. So it is we are rather going to see this unfolding, I think, over the next few years as to what can be done and what should be done in the regulatory landscape for AI. I think there is also um, a genuine concern that it doesn't matter what regulations are put in place, especially international regulations are put in place regarding AI. Once AI gains consciousness and takes over the world. So let's see what happens in that space. Hope you have a good Wednesday, and I will speak to you all again tomorrow morning.